6 p.m. Item 1, review and approval of the August 6, 2018 meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Any further discussion? Any questions or discussion around the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Item 2, public informational meeting for major subdivision at 1024 Main Street. Applicant Roy LaCroix, trustee. Location 1024 Main Street. Assessors Plat 18, Lot 33, residential R6, land area 13,510 square feet. 2 lots, Ocean State Planners, Inc. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record.
Just a moment, Mr. Chairman. I have marked the exhibits. Number 1, the application. Number 2, the site plan. Number 3, the narrative report from Ocean State Planners. Number 4, the radius map. Number 5, the abutters list. Number 6, the notice of mailing. Do we have the green cards?
Richard, did you bring a green card?
Do you have the green cards?
We have the green cards.
This will be, that'll be marked number 7.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, my name is Richard Bizdira. I'm president of Ocean State Planners, Inc. I'm also a registered land surveyor in the state of Rhode Island. And before you tonight, it's a major subdivision because they require zoning approval for this. It's a, as you mentioned, Assessors Plat 18, Lot 356 at 1024 Main Street in West Warwick. The lot consists of 13,500 square feet of land with an existing house that fronts on Main Street and a driveway, and an existing garage that will be removed, and a shed that will be removed. And we are proposing to put a new home in the back of the existing house on Brayton Street, which will have a 6,230 square feet, which exceeds the required zoning of 6,000. We have the proper frontage for both the existing house and the new house. We have the proper frontage. The area is serviced by sewer and water. The new house, why we have to go to zoning is because of the setback requirements. The lot is only 75 feet, 80 feet deep, and it requires to be 100 feet deep. So the rear setback would need to be 20 feet, and we don't have that. We have 18 feet with the size of the home that we're proposing here. So we're missing the rear setback by 2 feet. So that would require a zoning approval after this board reviews this. And I think we would have to come back to this board again for a final approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Hold on, we'll get to you. Somebody in the audience wants to ask a question. Anybody on the board? Any questions?
I do. For the garage to be raised, is that something that's going to be built, or is that something that's being removed?
This garage is going to be removed because the new property line would go right through the middle of it.
It's just so I assume it was going to be built.
Raised means to condemn,
Okay.
get rid of.
And it's our understanding, I believe I understood you correctly, that this is gonna have to go to zoning after this meeting.
That's correct.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone want to speak about this proposal? Come on up and get sworn in, okay?
State your name, please.
My name is Roger Fleury,
Your address.
22 Brayton Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Would you raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Number one, where they want to locate this new building,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a 2-lane street. It's only a 1-lane street. If somebody's coming in the street, you got to wait down the bottom of the street so this car can come down until we can go up. So that's unfeasible. That garage has been there for almost 30 years. They tried to do this once before, about 20 years ago. It did not pass. There's a house across the street from my house that's bigger than what this house here is going to be in size, and this house here is just as small. And then where Branch River is, there's a house there that the owner wanted to have torn down and have the foundation built 2 extra feet, and you people denied him. And now you want to do this on Brayton Street? It's impossible. You people should go there and see it yourself. It's too small. And they can't accommodate the traffic.
I went by this afternoon, and I had to wait to turn in because there was a car coming.
So you know what I'm talking about,
Exactly
sir.
what you're talking about.
And now with that mill open, you're constantly got tractor trailers going in and out on that street. It's impossible.
So the ultimate decision will be made by the zoning board. We will make a recommendation either for or against it, but our recommendation will not really matter. It'll be what the zoning.
Well, I
board
agree with you,
decides.
sir. Ed.
So pay attention to what the zoning board does, okay? And that's the time to come to voice your real serious complaints, okay?
Good enough, sir.
Thank you very much.
I thank you. At least you know what I'm talking
I
about.
do. Thank
So,
you.
so I'm a little confused. So the complaint is that the street, so adding a house there could add more congestion. Oh, okay, so
More traffic. That's the.
it almost seems like the problem's the street more than,
Yeah,
there's nothing they can do.
no, I don't,
From-
I don't believe so. I think.
Is there anything in the plan to widen that street? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, let me just reiterate or discuss what the man just talked about.
Yep.
Brayton Street is a very narrow road. It is only recorded as a 20-foot right-of-way. And it's paved pretty much, probably edge to edge, and it is narrow. One new house here, I don't believe is gonna add any more congestion to this area, because it's, again, even though it's a small street, it's almost like an alleyway, it's only one house lot. The recommendation from the planning department was to have us widen the street with the asphalt in front of our property here, and take down any vegetation or trees, so there could be excellent visibility, and we could have it as wide as we can, within the right-of-way that we can deal with. So the plan is to, once it's approved, to widen that road in that area. It won't be widened by much, it's not gonna make it a two-way lane, and, you need 24 feet for a two-way road, and this, again, the right-of-way is only 20 feet, so.
I say one thing about that. I just had a wall.
Should
Yeah.
ask about,
Come on back up.
I just had a wall put up on my street.
Yeah.
And I lost 4 feet because they said they were gonna put a sidewalk in. Well, come to find out, they couldn't put a sidewalk because they would've had to tear down a couple of buildings. And that's the same case that's gonna happen over here. Are they gonna put a sidewalk on his side of the street like they already started doing? And he's gonna be losing even more property.
Yeah, I don't believe there's gonna be a sidewalk. There's no evidence of it on the plan.
but when you say widen it, are you talking a foot? What are you talking? Just curious. I mean, it's irrelevant to, yeah, I know, yeah.
If you come off Brayton Street at the very top of Main Street, you see a dotted line, it follows the property line.
Yeah.
This little piece right here. Pavement right after that?
Yep.
So from that edge of pavement to the rear of our property, we'll be able to widen it.
Okay. Okay. Wow, yeah, I see it. Okay. I see.
gonna
It
get
looks
some
like
good-
it might be another, you widen it by
Probably another 4 feet.
3 or 4 feet, yeah.
So then, so basically when you're coming up, you're improving it. So if it's 20 feet now and you're coming up and that dotted line goes and you're gonna add another 4, you're going to 24 feet.
No, actually, it's
No, you're gonna go to 20.
You're gonna go to 20.
You're gonna go to 20.
probably 16 in that area.
Oh, see, okay, okay.
Because it's not the full 20 now.
You're making it better than what it was,
Make it better than what it was.
but not
Still.
still a 1 lane.
Yeah. Okay, all right, there was another woman in the back. Would you please come on up?
could you state your name and address,
Yeah.
please?
Kathleen Russell, 16 Brayton Street,
Would you raise your
West
right hand?
Warwick, Rhode Island.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I'm going to ask questions, so yes.
The question's gonna be truthful?
My questions will be truthful. So I'm trying to understand what is being proposed here, first of all, and I'm sorry if I missed it by being a couple minutes late. The current owners of the property that actually is addressed to Main Street want to divide that lot and build another house.
In the back of it.
Are they going to maintain ownership of the home they currently own and the home that they're planning on building? And I ask that only because, I find it disappointing when people don't maintain properties. And it's not necessarily maintained all that well at this point in the game, the current property that's there. That's why I ask that. That's why I think it's relevant,
Unfortunately,
okay?
the board has no say over who owns a piece of property.
Right.
They can just decide whether or not to allow a division, but who owns it, they have
Okay.
no authority.
So
And-
we don't know, and they are not, certainly not obligated to answer. To either
So
continue
what-
to hold it or to sell it, they don't have that obligation.
Okay. The second question is, what is it they're proposing to build? Of
Single-family
single-family
residence.
residence? And then my third question kind of leads back to where they were talking about the width of the road.
Yeah.
If they're going to be able to make it wider, it will be after the fact where the problem exists, where you can't have somebody exiting and entering at the same time,
On the corner.
correct? So it's not going to alleviate, it's not really going to be an improvement, correct?
And,
To that
again,
situation.
also, the decision on this will be made by the zoning board. We will recommend after tonight's hearing to the zoning board.
Yes, I did hear that.
And whether we recommend approval or recommend denial, it'll still go to the zoning board, and ultimately, they're free to ignore our recommendation if they choose. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They're free to
I
listen
did
to it if they
understand
choose.
that.
So,
Okay.
Okay, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. Is there anyone else that wants to weigh in on that? Yeah.
Name and
Joel-
address, please.
Joel Jennison, 10 Brighton Street.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Did I hear you say that they're going to propose a single-family home?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Because my only concern is I live right next door,
okay.
so on the back, parking is already atrocious over there. It's when you pull into Brighton Street on the left side,
Yeah.
they've got a 6-family home there now. So my only concern is parking. So if they're going to take out 4 feet to widen the road, where are all those people going to park now?
I believe they'll park on the property. It'll be a house with parking.
'Cause-
But assuming zoning board approves that, they're gonna have to come back here with the site plan. Come back to planning with a site plan for approval. And we'll have to make sure that they meet the zoning requirements, which will be, I believe, 2 off-street parking spots for this house. So that would happen if zoning approves it. They'll be coming back to approve the parking, the whole site plan, including, stormwater runoff, whatever, everything on that parking plan, they'll come back to us with that.
Okay.
Okay? All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes.
Just for the people in the audience who probably are not aware, and we did leave some copies of the agenda out there. Town employees did go down and look at the property, and while everything you're saying is correct, the roadway is extremely narrow. The lot that they're proposing, other than the lot depth, is fully conforming, and there is sufficient area there for a house. So when we looked at it, we did see that the roadway was narrow and there would be difficulty having 2 vehicles pass. The bigger concern was fire apparatus rescue, sanitation vehicles, larger trucks actually going up and down the street. So we did a couple of things when we looked at that. If you look at the site plans that's presented on there, it's got more or less a single car or double car driveway in the front yard. We're recommending as one of the stipulations that they enlarge the driveway. And it says driveway shall be relocated adjacent to the home and extended so as to provide for more than 20 feet of depth in order to accommodate additional vehicles, a minimum of 3, as there is no room for on-street parking. So we're aware of that, and we're asking them to enlarge the driveway so there will be more parking on the lot and they would not have to park on the street. The other stipulation that we asked for is regarding enlarging the road. Now, we understand it's only 20 feet wide. You can't make the road wider than it is without taking someone's property. But at that point, it's probably 14 to 15 feet of pavement. So while the extra 5 feet, as the engineer said, isn't really sufficient for standard 2-lane, which is a minimum of 22 feet, but comfortably 24 feet, it will widen the road so 2 normal vehicles should be able to drive by each other. It's the trucks and the truck traffic that's problematic.
How about these tractor trailer trucks? Are you gonna stop all these tractor trailer trucks? from
Sir,
going up and
sir,
down?
sir,
That's what
I'm just
saying.
making statement, I'm not here to debate you. No
No,
one's
you're
gonna,
saying you can make it 2 lanes. These tractor
did not-
trailer trucks are down
sir,
there 24 hours a
sir,
day.
sir, my statement was not that we can make it 2 lanes, it's that we can't make it 2 lanes.
Oh, all right.
I said we can't make it 2 lanes.
Okay.
It said 2 lanes is a minimum of 22 feet, it's only 20 feet. We can make it wider so that 2 vehicles may be able to pass each other. I'm not talking about tractor trailers, okay? I understand there's an issue with tractor trailers. One of the other things that came up in the technical review committee meeting, which includes police and fire, were concerns about parking and on-street parking and tractor trailers. And one of the recommendations coming out of the committee was perhaps the technical review committee will review a traffic study in this area on this neighborhood and make some recommendations as to what type of vehicles and traffic should be allowed to use that roadway, and whether there should be on-street parking restricted on the roadway, that there should be no on-street parking. So there are things that the town can do to alleviate that, but that is not really the obligation of the applicant to address those. It really is the town.
Any further conversation?
Well, is,
Go ahead.
there is, I know I'm hearing the concern about, you know, larger vehicles, on these roads, but having this, adding this home is not bringing those vehicles to the street. It's not adding to the already, the situation at hand,
Yeah.
correct?
Unless the trailer truck driver buys the house, then. But there's a different road you can take on that with the city council and talk to them about trailer truck prohibited, so there's different avenues you can take on
Yeah,
that.
there are a lot of cars parked in there.
Wow, when you get to.
Yeah, a lot of cars
For
parked.
for the information of the board, the way that works is somebody from the council has to recommend to the traffic committee, no parking, weight limit on trucks, no through trucking.
They already had no parking put on the street. And it still looks pretty good.
So that goes through the,
And I just had it done.
that goes through the traffic committee, then they either, ask that an ordinance be prepared, and it goes back to the council for decision. But that's the process.
That's the process,
Okay.
so.
So, there are, the planning office stipulations that our planner referred to earlier, that are listed in the packet. This isn't officially a public hearing, so I don't have to close the public hearing, but let's have a discussion. We have to make a recommendation to the zoning board. And we know the zoning board is free to ignore what we do, and my impression is they usually do. That the zoning board usually ignores us when we send them a recommendation. But you're not saying anything. So anyway, they're gonna have to go to zoning. So all of you pay attention, regardless of what happens tonight, go to the zoning board meeting and air your complaints at that time. There are several stipulations that I think we should, I'm in favor of recommending approval of this if the applicant agrees to all the planning office recommendations. And we send that to the zoning board and let zoning decide how to deal with these issues. The recommendations include containing the runoff on site so that no storm water gets added into the street. Includes that they get the dimensional variance, that the driveway be relocated to make sure that 3 cars could park off the street, that the shed will be removed, that the vegetation along the road frontage to provide better visibility for the new home, and shall widen the roadway along the frontage of the proposal, and that they'll pay the fee of $2,500 as proposed. So, is there a motion to recommend approval? And if there's not, is there a motion to recommend that the zoning board disapprove it?
Well, if we disapprove it, the zoning board most likely approve it. If we approve it. Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
I
Motion
move that motion.
to approve it, to recommend approval Is there a second? Tony,
Subject to all those.
Subject to all of the,
Subject
all
to
those
all the recommendations
all the
by the
planning office
planning board.
recommendations. Any further discussion about this? It's moved and seconded to recommend approval to the zoning board. If not, all those in favor of sending this to the zoning board? Aye. Aye. So it passed unanimously. We heard your concerns. Make sure you go to zoning to air them, okay? Thank you, thank you. And then item 3, administrative subdivision approval for informational purposes. So, Mark, you gotta explain this one to me.
Yeah, so basically, for your information, this is related to a condo development that was approved many, many years ago.
Yeah.
Called Hunter's Reserve, which is currently referred to as the Orchard.
Yep.
And as a condition of that approval, the developer was to deed over to 2 adjoining landowners certain strips of land. So if you look at the first one,
Yep.
it says parcel 1 in the bottom right-hand corner.
Yep.
And I'll bring you up to the top on North Pleasant Street. There's a Assessor's Plat 1, Lot 530.
Yep.
And you'll see a line, a dashed line, that is the current property line that is to be removed and to be relocated northerly, adding 5,689
Okay, got it.
square feet to that property. So that's just merging that little strip
Okay.
into that property for the adjoining property owner.
Okay.
If you look at the second one, it takes you to the southerly portion of the development off of Bradford Court.
Yep.
And on the bottom left, you'll see AP 1, Plat 1, Lot 129. There's an existing house there. That lot will be receiving a little over 13,000 square feet, just north of Bradford Court. You'll see where it says old lot line to be removed
Yep.
and a new line. So that portion, 13,546 square feet, is being merged or deeded into Lot 129. Those were both conditions of the approval many, many years ago of this condominium development, and the developer is just following through and codifying that. Those properties were transferred to the abutting owners
Okay.
at no cost to the abutting owners.
Okay. All right. I was confused, but that explains it.
Is it clearer now?
Yes, thank you. I went by the lot today to try to see if I could see by looking at it
Yeah.
what was intended. It didn't occur to me, because this thing was approved long before I was on the board, I think.
Many, many. 06, Orchard, North Pleasant. 09, 06, old.
All right, so that's informational. Do we have a,
He has been.
Davey,
we
buddy.
don't, public comment? Any public comment?
No more?
No, I think, since there's no public comment, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Move that motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.